All right. So, as people are still kind of making their way into the webinar, thank you guys for coming out and joining us in this webinar today about financing. My name's Adam Corey. I'll be one of the speakers today. I'm the owner, founder of ThermoGrid Rise Coaching, and Corey Lorraine will be also presenting today. And we have Travis that's going to be managing all the chats. So if you have any questions that pop up at all throughout this webinar, feel free to send them through the chat. And Travis will respond as those come through. So if you want, kind of take a moment to look to see where that chat would be, and then we'll kind of get rolling here. So the reason why I like financing so much, and there's so many different ways that I've personally used this in the field. I've been in every role from being an installer to a service technician to a sales rep, sales manager, operations manager, general manager, and even taking over the bookkeeping and stuff for a period of time too, while I kind of swapped out an individual in that role. So I've kind of hit every role within the company, and in the sales role that I was in, I was labeled as a comfort advisor. So at that period of time, that's all I did. After we got to a certain point of growth. So there was a period of time that I was selling and installing everything I sold, but after a while, I got to the point that I just strictly did the sales side of it. And I thought it was fun. It's extremely exciting. There's a huge reward in it, a lot of financial rewards as well. And financing became a massive part of my process, my sales process. So some of you may have sales processes, some of you may not have them. But what I will tell you is if you don't have a process, you're really missing out on some massive opportunity. If you don't have financing that you offer to your customers every single time, you're missing a massive opportunity for your company. So I've consulted many businesses across the US and Canada. And one of the things that I've been able to see is that every company is about the same. The challenges they run into, the customers that they sell to, the repairs that they do, it's all the same equipment. It's all the same order of operations for how furnaces, air conditioners, plumbing, all the different types of field services companies out there. They're all the same with how they're ran too, from dispatching, all of it. So that's what we're going to go through today is just kind of sharing some insights of what I've learned going through the process and what I think can help you guys as our customers on the ThermoGrid side to kind of get to a new level for yourselves. And that's something that excites me. It drives me to help others just make their lives easier, make their businesses better. So that's why I do what I do. So one of the things about the financing side and some of the stats that we have is that, anytime anybody goes out to buy a house, 65.9% of the time they are using financing to buy a house. Now, personally, I feel like that number would have been higher, but after thinking about it, I own a real estate and construction company, and the houses that we buy, we pay cash for. So I did kind of look at that, and I thought, okay, so there's a lot of investors that buy houses and flip them and so on and so forth. So that's probably why that number is so low, because houses are pretty big expenses. When we look at buying cars, 85% of people that are getting a car are using financing to purchase it. And when we compare that to like HVAC or the field service industry, plumbing, electrical, pool companies, radon companies, any of those types of businesses that send a technician out to fix or sell or install something, it's only at 57.3%. And I do understand why that number is so low, but I also don't understand why that number is so low because the repairs that we do, the equipment that's sold, all of those things. And I'm going to get into like some of the numbers as far as like how much money people have in the emergency funds and things like that. But that number should be way higher. And I'll kind of go through and explain why that number is so low and how much of an impact that can make with your business if you were to make some small adjustments. Here's what I see. If you go out and you buy a house or a car, what percentage of the time is your real estate agent or your dealership salesman not bringing up financing? I know for a fact that every time I buy a house, every time I buy a vehicle, financing is always brought up. It's always brought up. Not once will you ever see a sales rep miss that opportunity to bring it up because they know that when it comes to investments that are a little bit larger, financing is how people buy. People buy a car and a house based on that monthly payment. They're not buying it necessarily based on it's a car for 50 grand or 60 grand or a house for 200 grand or 300 grand. That might come into discussion, but the bottom line is it always comes back to the payment. But let's look at it from a different perspective. How often is it not brought up in the field service industry, like financing options? And what I have found is it's most of the time. There's so many times that you have technicians or sales reps that are offering these products and services that are finding the repairs that are needed, and they don't bring up financing. Or maybe if they do bring up financing, they don't bring it up in a way that makes it easy for the customer to know that that's what they need to do. Because realistically, we don't want to just even offer financing. We want to take it to a whole nother level past that and actually get people to use it. So some of the stats on revenue. If your company right now is only utilizing financing on 20% of your revenue, because the stats statistically overall, it's 57.3 in the field service industry. So if you're only financing about 20% of your revenue and you're $1 million company, that means that 200,000 is financed. It should be at 573,000, which means that you are missing revenue in your company right now of $373,000 because of not pushing the financing side. Now, sometimes I see companies that they don't offer financing really at all. Maybe it's only 5% of the time, but I put a really low number in here just to kind of illustrate this as well. If you're only having financing of 5% of your revenue right now, that means that out of $1 million, you only have $50,000 that was financed. Really, we're talking, I would say in most companies should be maybe a couple jobs, maybe three jobs. But 57.3 is again that 573,000 in revenue, which means that we're missing revenue of $523,000 of additional revenue. That means that you could grow your company about 30% right there by pushing financing a lot more, giving people a way to afford what they need and what you're offering, what you're recommending to them. So really, I asked the question, how often should we offer financing? Always. Every single job you do, a customer should know that financing is available for them. Because realistically, 43% of customers out there, when they're searching for you, 43% of all the customers are looking for a company that has financing options. And most of them, what they're looking for is they're looking for maybe a 0% financing or maybe a low interest financing that gives them low monthly payments that are easily affordable. Some of them don't even care. They just need something that can break up a big chunk in because they don't have any other options. They'll pay 18%, they'll pay 21% if that's all they can get. But as a company, a home services company, to offer great service, that's one of the things that we have to be able to check the box on is having financing options for everybody, a 0%, a low interest, and then a less than favorable credit score that would get a high interest financing. Those are the things that must be available to gain the business of that 43% of the market that maybe you don't get right now, which means that it should be on your website. Like it should basically smack them right in the face that you have financing. It should be on any of the marketing campaigns that you're doing. If you do direct mail, if you're doing TV, if you're doing radio, whatever, they should know that you have financing available because it instantly answers one of the internal questions that they have to let them know that it is okay for them to call you, that they're not going to be shut off. 43%, and it's interesting that this matches, but it does make sense when you think about it. 43% of people don't even have an emergency fund of $500. So think about it. How many repairs or options of purchasing new equipment do you have that's over $500? Because right then and there, we're shutting off those customers. Almost half of your customers can't even buy from you if you haven't shared with them on how they can make those repairs affordable. So usually what it will sound like though when you're talking with these customers and you give them this option or repair or whatever it is, they'll look at it and they'll kind of shake their head, and say, okay, I'll think about it, I'll let you know. And really, anytime a customer says, I need to think about it, what they're really saying to you is, I want to end the conversation now. That's what they mean by that. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, lay in bed tonight and just ponder, do I want to work with this company? Do I really want this option or this option? That's not what's going through their mind. They feel like they have all the information they need to make their decision and they want to end that conversation. And chances are it's because maybe they can't afford it and they haven't had any options on what they can do to make it affordable in their lives. A contractor that offers financing, and this is a low number. This is a very low number. There's many stats out there. There's many percentages and studies out there. But on a low side, a company can close 30% more of their jobs just by offering and pushing the financing. And the average ticket can increase by over 60%. So when I work with companies and we're talking about business coaching and helping companies get to a whole new level, because I know in business, and I've been through all of these different levels of plateauing in business. So one of them's at $1 million. If you're at $1 million, and it's not exactly a million, it could be like 800,000, it could be 1.2 million, somewhere in that range. But when you get to $1 million, that is a plateau mark. It means that if you don't start changing your business structure a little bit on how you do things, you'll hang out at that $1 million mark for a long time, if not forever. Another plateau marks around 3 million. Another plateau marks around 6 million. Another plateau mark's going to be around 15 million. And usually when you can get to the point of hitting $15 million, you've unlocked it. You know what it takes to do the massive growth and keep scaling as a company. And I've done this with my businesses. I've done it with other companies as well. And one of the things to kind of help with this is you got to think a little bit differently. There's so many technicians that go out there right now, and you may have some of them right now that they'll go out there and they find a problem where it's like, oh, well, the reason that your system's not functioning properly is because you have a dirty blower motor. So you need to clean it and it's 250 bucks. To me, that's called a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid process. When you go out there and you only focus on one thing, one little thing that could get them fixed as far as why they called you, there's so much more opportunity that you've missed out on because in this scenario, and I realize there's a lot of different verticals out there, and the blower motor scenario might not apply to you, but think about it from your perspective for your company and your vertical, that what other options could be done? In this scenario with the dirty blower motor, well, yeah, we need to clean it. There's 250. We need maybe a better filtration system or an electronic air cleaner. There's 1,500 bucks. Maybe we need to clean and sanitize the ductwork that's causing the blower motor to get dirty. So there's another 1,300 bucks. So we just went from throwing a Band-Aid option out to the customer for 250 that maybe they can afford. But when we're thinking about preventing this failure from happening again, we do need better filtration. We do need to get rid of the source of problem, which is the duct work that is filthy. And now we went from 250 to 3,050. Now we went over that $500 threshold that like 43% of people don't even have in their savings for emergencies. So how would they be able to afford getting an option that doesn't only take care of today's issue, but will help prevent the issue from coming back in the future? Because to me, I feel like it's almost like we're stealing from somebody where we know that we're going to charge them a diagnostic fee to come out today, a trip charge, and then we charge them to clean the blower motor, and then we're going to come out next year and do the same thing, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And overall, it's going to cost them so much more because it's not just the trip charge and the utilities or the cleaning. It is the utilities, it's life expectancy and all those things. And that applies to every vertical, every business that's out there. So when we're offering these bigger options, the options that solve all of the problems, the future problems, they will need financing. Or you're going to get the objection, I need to think about it, or I can't afford it, or you just cost too much. And those are probably things that all of you have heard. If you do any kind of sales at all, you've heard these things before. And through, some of our scripts and processes that we have on the Rise side, it overcomes these things. It overcomes the objections before they ever come up. I want them to know how to make this affordable well before I give them options. I want them to know they can afford it because I don't want them to think about it. I don't want them to be uncomfortable because a lot of people, let's face it, when we throw out $3,000 to them and they don't even have $500 for serious emergencies, they might be embarrassed about it. And if they're embarrassed about it, chances are they're not going to want to tell you that that's the problem. So in sales, one of the things that we have found is that there's 5 internal questions in the customer's mind that have to be answered for them to be able to move forward with you. Now, it's not questions that they're just going to come out all the time and ask you. Sometimes they do, but they have to be checked off in their mind mentally, or there's always going to be something in their mind that says, I don't know if I can do this right now. That's how it comes across. So one of the things the customer needs to know is they need to know, what are you recommending? Like, what is your recommendation as a company? They also need to know why they should buy. Well, to me, the best way to answer something like that, like why I should buy, is, well, you tell me. Like, why did you call me? Not in that way, we don't want to come off confrontational or anything like that, but what is it that is important to them? What do they hope to gain? What are some of the challenges? That's the information that comes from them, and that's what answers the question why they should buy. They answer that. Why they should buy from you, they need to understand that as well. And it's not going to come from statements of we're the best company in the industry and everybody else is going to do this and you're going to regret it. Not that at all. That turns people off. It's ask them questions. Well, what's important to you in a company? What do you want us to be able to provide for you? What do you think is most important out of services and quality and warranty guarantees, blah, blah, blah. Those are the questions that help lead them into the things that you offer that would get them to buy from you. They need to know when they should buy, something that would create urgency, and check that thing off. That's part of our script as well. And then they need to know how they can pay for it. So that is one of them. So we have to let them know up front how they can pay for something like this to be able to get them to move forward. Now, always let them know we take cash, we take check, we take credit cards. You can Venmo, you can Zelle pay, you can cash out a 401k, you can do layaway. We have financing. Like all of these things should be talked about when you meet with a customer, because sometimes they're not thinking about it. Sometimes a customer they don't have anything on a credit card. They can't write you a check. They don't have cash. They can't Venmo. They can't Zelle pay, but they're not thinking about the 401k that they could cash out temporarily and then pay back where there's no penalties on it. I've done that many times. A layaway is another option. A layaway is something where maybe we can't get financing. They don't have any of the other options that are available. But I've had this where I go out and I meet with a customer and they call us because there's a promotion and they want to get that promotion. They know they need the equipment. They need the new system, and they get declined and no other options are available for them. And then a year goes by, we do the same promotion. They call us again and none of these options are available. They're declined for financing again. So I changed it to, man, this person wanted financing. They said to me that they can afford $400 a month. Why don't I sell it to them, contract the price, let them make $400 payments to me, and then when they get to a certain level or threshold of payments, we'll go out and install the system for them. And some of you maybe have never heard of that, but I'll tell you what, that is a huge, huge game changer by offering that. You're not financing them internally. And I'm saying this because you're not going out and doing the work and then they're making payments for the work. They're making payments to you and then you go out and do the work when enough is built up. The same thing is true when you offer maintenance agreements. They pay 20 bucks a month or 30 bucks a month, whatever it is. And, after 6 months, they have enough built up where you go out and perform that service for them. That's how it should be done. But again, all of these options should be discussed every time you meet with a customer in any sort of sales scenario, whether it's service or new installations. Now, here's one of the biggest challenges when it comes to offering financing. It's because the technicians and your sales reps are just not comfortable with it. They're not comfortable with it because maybe they made the assumption that your customers are just not interested. But sometimes, let's face it, our technicians don't quite understand how to read nonverbal cues, like the neurolinguistics of psychology of uh, you know the voice inflection, the tone, um, nonverbal cues. Like some people just they're not trained in that. They don't know how to read it. So by the customer looking shut off and they didn't realize exactly when that point took place, they think, oh, the customer doesn't like us or they don't like the option. So I'm just going to pack up and I'm going to go. When really it came down to they were not really disinterested. They just didn't know how they were going to afford the option that they really know that they need and they're embarrassed to talk about it. Maybe it's because the technician just hasn't had training. You didn't maybe go over what the options are, or maybe you gave them too many options and it needed to be simplified to these are the top three options as a company that we will offer. And then having that talk track, the script that is role played internally. So they know how to say it. So they don't trip over their own words when they're talking about it with the customer. Sometimes technicians think that it's just too complex. It's like, geez, I have to, fill out this application and I don't really know how to do it. So again, that's maybe another area of training. And then they think that it's going to have to go through this whole process and they're going to get a call later. But most financing companies today, you can actually send the application through and in minutes, if not seconds, already have your approval. And it's that easy. It's so simple to do it. Sometimes they're just too focused on, well, I'm a technician, I'm not a sales rep. Well, there may be some incentives that you could give them to want to sell more holistic options because to me in business, the most important thing that we could do is always shoot for what's called a win-win-win philosophy. Your customers are winning, your technicians are winning, your company is winning. Everybody's winning. As long as everybody's winning, it's the right decision. It's the right thing to do in the company. And when we offer financing and there's spiffs for technicians, well, geez, they make more money. That's a big win for them. It's good for their livelihood. They can maybe have better house, better whatever for their families. The customers actually can get the repairs or new equipment or whatever it is that they need. And as a company, you make more money too, so you're going to have more profitability. So instead of just focusing on that, I'm a technician, I only focus on the technical tasks, the technicians need to broaden their expertise to know how to help customers solve problems, not just go in and put a band-aid on something and go out next year and put the same damn band-aid on it over and over and over again. Because that, to me, is not helping customers at all. I think it's kind of a ripoff because realistically, I think that the customer should have a choice. Do you want the band-aid or do you want to prevent this from coming back in the future? Here's your options. What do you want to do? Let them make the choice instead of as a technician making that choice for them. Sometimes we have some policies within the company that limit some of the things that are offered, but that's as business managers, you guys got to get to that next level too. And help open your own minds to be able to offer things that are better for your team, better for your customers, better for your company. You don't know all the answers. Nobody knows all the answers, but that's why it's good to partner up with other types of businesses that can help open your minds to new ideas and new beliefs. So earlier I mentioned it's not enough just to offer the financing and say, hey, we have financing options. Like we need to sell them on it. Like we have certain scripts, talk tracks that we use on the Rise side that I used for my own companies, and still do, where it's getting them to explore the option. Like I get that you say you're going to pay cash, but what if you were to find out that it made more sense for you to use somebody else's money instead of your own? What would be most comfortable for you on a monthly basis? Wouldn't cause you any challenges, like 100 a month, 200 a month, 300 a month, 400 a month, 4,000 a month, 10,000 a month. And I just keep going until they stop. And then they give me a number. Now I got a number. Now they're thinking about the possibility of actually using financing. Now, if you were to use financing, how much would you be able to put down? 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000? Because when we go through this talk track, you are going to know everything that you need to know about this customer's budget, how much money they can put down, how much money they can afford monthly, if they were to pay outright, how much they can afford. All of that information you will know before you ever get to the point of designing anything for them and showing them a price. This will help you because when you start designing something for them, you custom design it based on their needs and what's important to them. You will be able to tell them that here's another option for you that you could look into. Here's the benefits of it. Now, if you were to look into this, there is a possibility this could take you up and over your budget. Do you still want to look into it just so you know what it is, or do you want me to cross it out now knowing that it could potentially take you up over your budget? That is the ultimate way of gaining trust and being able to take somebody from a basic option. If you're an HVAC and you're talking and you're selling five, six, seven, $8,000 systems, you're way down there. When you start offering things like this and you have a talk track like this, you will start showing consistently 25, 35, $50,000 options. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing that I learned. I had very good numbers, closing ratios, average tickets, but I was very good at helping my team not hold themselves back. And I had a sales rep that would consistently go out and sell $70,000 packages. And when he sold his first one, I was blown away. When he sold the second, third, fourth one, I was just really blown away. And I was just like, man, how are you doing this? He's like, well, I took a pointer from you from your training. And I said, oh, what was that? He's like, well, you said that if you never show it, you will never sell it. He's like, all I do is I show it. Now they have the option to buy it. And if they don't want to do it, I then start reducing things out, just like the process is. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive. See, I would show systems up to $40,000, $50,000 consistently, and I would get $40,000, $50,000 options. He just took it a step further. So ultimately, I think that we all that are in sales or management, we all have a bar that we set for ourselves. And unfortunately, it's kind of like the Olympics, right? How many times the Olympics is hosted, does somebody come out with a new record? How is that possible? Like, how do we keep breaking records? Why didn't we just back in the 50s break that record to the numbers that they have today? Well, it's because the bar keeps raising, and as the bar raises, people are targeting that. They're shooting for it. And we do the same thing in this industry as well. So to sell financing, you have to have a survey. You have to have a way of gathering information from your customers, their questions. You write down the answers. You have talk tracks, you have scripts on how to communicate things in a way that gets your customers to open up, because we all know it. We've all had customers like this, and you might be one of them. You might be that customer when you buy things where you're closed off. You don't want to share things with people because you're thinking, well, geez, if I tell them my budget, they're just going to max out my budget. We have to change that belief. We have to know that we're operating from a place of integrity. And if we at least get a budget from a customer, we're not going to waste their time. Because if their budget is 10 grand and they have to be at 10 grand, do I really want to waste their time at 70 grand? I don't think so. Because ultimately, I might show that 70 grand system. And if I don't know how to talk my way through this or have the right talk tracks to be able to pull things out and redesign it to get back into their budget, I lost the sale right then and there. See, instead of trying to be a mind reader, what we need to do is have the right psychological training and questions to get all the cards on the table up front so we see it. We're not guessing. And we use that information to help our customers. That's how you gain more wins. That's how you can get to higher closing ratios. Your technicians have to be trained on this, though. Your team has to be trained on this. We're doing upfront qualifying so we know where to take that customer. So my stats that I had when I was what's called a comfort advisor and I was going out and doing in-home sales, my last 3 years collectively, I was at 83% closing ratio. 80% of the leads that I ran were the marketed leads. So leads that most of you or your sales team would say, man, these leads suck. Angie's List, Home Advisor, Facebook, the internet, the phone book, whatever. Most salespeople say, man, those customers, they're only shopping. They're only getting 3 bids. They just want the cheapest price. If you believe that, your results will reflect that. I don't believe that. I believe that people buy on value. I truly do. Because I drive, like today, I drive my kids to school every day and pick them up. And, on the way to school, I see a lot of houses that people live in that are definitely not the cheapest houses. I also see a lot of cars going up and down the road. And I'm like, man, why did that person spend so much on that car? There's cheaper cars out there. I know my first car was free. My second car was $100. It got me from point A to point B. There's a lot of cars out there for that. Why do people consistently spend 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90, $100,000 on cars? Because they buy on value and it's their perceived value of what they want from their car. It's not about just getting from point A to point B. It's, well, how does the music sound on the way from point A to point B? What is the technology that I have? Is that car going to drive me there so I can maybe do some work on the way there? Like there's so many other things that people are looking for. So don't cut yourself short. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're telling yourself the same lie over and over and over again that people are only buying based on price, because that will be your results. That will be your closing ratio. That will be your average ticket. The national average on marketed leads is 15% closing ratio. 80% of my leads were marketed and I was at 83% closing ratio. I went 3 months back to back at 100% closing ratio. I never would have been able to do this at all without financing, obviously, and the layaway program. Those two programs were the only way that I was able to get to 100% closing ratio 3 months back to back, running full sales leads. My sales team, I had 7 sales reps. I also had selling technicians and technicians I had about 15 technicians, 7 comfort advisors. The team's closing ratio collectively was 72%. And 50% of all of the company's leads were marketed leads. So very, very good numbers overall. Now, some people are like, my closing ratio is really good. I'm at 90%. I'm at 90%. I don't push your self-financing. I don't have to do that. And I'm like, are they all referrals? Because if they're all referrals, great. But if all of your business is just from referrals, then you're going to have waves in your business and you're not taking your company to the next level. Because yeah, you might be able to do 90% on referrals, maybe. But usually when I see that people are at 90% or they think they are, I ask them, well, how do you track your numbers? Well, we don't really have a good way of tracking it. That makes more sense now. You really don't know what your closing ratio is. You just think it's 90%. Or what will happen is they'll be like, well, that lead doesn't count. That customer was shopping. They didn't want to move forward today. They wanted to get more bids. Well, yeah, these are the common objections, man. They're getting bids. They care about brand to a tiny degree. They can't afford it. Like these are the common objections that we all get. You just have to know how to overcome them. It doesn't mean that these leads don't count. They all count. Like if they called you to come out and give them a quote for something and you showed up and they answered the door, that is now a lead. I don't care what the excuse is. But if you get past that, you grow as a person, you grow as a company, and now you get more business. Now you grow a lot more. You get past those plateaus that most people get stuck at. So again, when it comes to increasing your performance, I'm telling you, if your closing ratio right now is at 38%, if you truly track your numbers and your average ticket is $5,000 and you run 20 leads in a month or whatever period of time, if you offer financing, just financing alone, and you don't change anything else in your company, your current revenue would be at those numbers 38,000 and you would go to 105,000 just by pushing the financing. So these are little numbers that I'm using. This spreadsheet will be sent to all of you to just throw your numbers in there. Put in your closing ratio, put in your average ticket, put in how many leads that you had, and it will compute the numbers for you to show you that if you were just pushing the financing side of it, and you take this small section of our talk track, you'll increase your revenue by over $67,000 in that month or that week. It's good to open your eyes to some of these numbers because it tells you what the possibilities are. See, we all have comfort zones. We all have these boxes that we kind of operate from, we live in, and that's why those plateaus are what they are. People get stuck there. Um, but I'll say that if you open yourself to it, if you let it in, you'll see the difference at what you have in your company. So with scripts, we have to be able to overcome objections. We have to overcome the objections before they ever come up. We have to stay consistent. We can't miss any of the points, which is like our warranties, our guarantees, the financing, the what options are available. Like I'm telling you, if you're going out there and you're winging it right now, there's many times that you will miss a point and you'll know it. It'll probably be the objection that you get at the end. But if you have a talk track, it'll keep you consistent to make sure you always hit all these points so it'll maximize your closing ratios, your average tickets. Train your technicians on that, give them the confidence to be able to do this. It's also going to prevent you from having technicians go out there, wing it, and they make crap up as they go. Like, we don't want people making stuff up. We don't want them giving misinformation because that stuff will come back and haunt you as well. So here's the talk track right here. This is the talk track that goes over our financing section. This is for you to have. Here's the other part of it, to qualify your customers and figure this out. There is a sales book and survey that you're going to get as well. And all of this will be emailed to you guys. So we're going to give you that small portion of the financing script or talk track. And we're going to give you the full book for sales. So meaning that you'll be able to sit down with a customer and have all the questions in the order that they should be asked, and they write down their answers and the type of information that they should share about your company and who you guys are to answer the questions, internal questions that usually don't get answered, which is why should I buy from you? How can I pay? What are you recommending? The process handles all of that. So this whole book is for you as well to use. When you have financing set up in ThermoGrid, you will be able to have it where you'll be able to do your good, better, best options. It will show the monthly payment of each of them, display that to your customers. Some of you may be looking at this screen and you're like, well, what part of ThermoGrid is this? Where you can show the images and you have those monthly investments and stuff like that. Well, that just means that there's maybe a lot more to ThermoGrid that you're unaware of. So reach out to the team and figure that out, because the more that you can maximize the automation of ThermoGrid and everything that's capable within it, the easier it will make your lives so you can grow and scale and focus on your business and not get stuck in the business anymore. That's how you blow past those plateau points. So again, this is our gift to you: the sales guide and the financing portion of the script. And from here, I will introduce to you Corey LaGrain, which will go through and show you how to get financing activated into your system if you do not have it activated already, and how you can utilize it.
Thank you, Adam. Hey, everyone, I'm Corey. If you don't know me, I think most of you probably do know me, but first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. And with that said, I'd like to introduce our financing option, which is obviously WiseTech. We feel this will enhance your ThermoGrid experience. It will ensure seamless transactions, helping you focus on business growth. We designed it for flexibility and convenience, and it simplifies purchasing decisions for your clients and will help manage that cash flow effectively. So let's dive in and explore how it works to understand the benefits and logistics, not only for you as the company, but also what it's going to look like for your clients. And thank you, Adam. So how does it work? Well, pretty simple. You're going to receive those payments within 24 to 48 hours after the client verifies that the work has been completed. Only a 3.9% transaction fee. And if you don't know, we are able to politely pass that over to your clients. Very flexible amounts that they will be approved for, anywhere between $500 and $2,500. You and your clients will receive notifications at every step of this process, and we designed this to be 100% paperless. How to sign up. So we've really simplified this within the ThermoGrid platform. You're going to go to the cogwheel top right-hand side of your account, click on customer financing, and from there, it's going to take you to sign up today. Go ahead and click on create account. And from there, you're going to WiseTech's website where you're going to be able to sign up for the financing. They'll go over all the details with you and start winning more bids out in the field with our integrated financing option. How it works for your customer? Well, as Adam said earlier, they're looking at that monthly payment. It's going to seem way more affordable looking at $250 a month versus $15,000 up front. You will win more bids and raise that ticket average. They have no extra fees, just that monthly payment. They will know what they qualify for within seconds. You're able to do that directly from a phone, tablet, computer. Very flexible terms, anywhere ranging from 3 months to 60 months. Your excellent credit, 0%, and not so excellent, perhaps up to 36% credit. It is credit check friendly, and you do need a minimum of 540 to qualify with our financing partner. So, Rise Coaching. Most of you guys probably know I've worked for Adam for quite a few years. And over the years, I've seen Adam work wonders coaching HVAC companies, plumbing companies, electrical companies to remarkable success. I mean, I've seen that profit skyrocket 5%. Adam coaches them for a month or two, they're at 35%. I've watched him transform one-man operations into bustling 10 to 20-man shops and marveled at how he's helped 20, 30 plus man shops double their revenue without having to hire a single team member to do so. So our Rise coaching will be catered based on your needs, but if you're looking to raise things such as your ticket average, your closing percentage, need help with recruiting, training, onboarding, the questions you should be asking and not asking during the interview process, marketing out to clients, when should you market, what should you market for? If you're looking for help with any of those, Rise is the perfect platform for you. Feel free to reach out to us at 1-800-592-3611 with any questions whatsoever. You can also email us sales@thermogrid.com. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to meet with us today, and please keep an eye on your inbox for that free gift. Thank you.